People who are ghosting other people. Have you ever been called out? If so, how did that make you feel? Oh hey, I can answer this. This happened 9 years ago. When I was a teenager, I had started dating a guy who I really liked. He did not like my best friend and would often make fun of her. I felt like my friendship with her was coming to an end anyway because we were drifting apart. So I didn't stop him. His toxic behavior actually made me start resenting her. Eventually, I just ghosted her, left her on read, never hung out with her anymore. We didn't go to the same school, so I just never saw her. She sent me a long message asking why was I not talking to her. Did she make me mad? Did she do something wrong? It was a really heartbreaking message, and I pretty much told her that I felt like we weren't close anymore. That I was in a good relationship and I didn't feel like we were friends anymore. She responded by basically saying she understood with a sad face. I didn't talk to her for almost a year. I'm not sure what the push was. I was still dating the guy, but I missed her and I texted her a very long message apologizing and groveling that I was wrong and stupid, not sure what came over me, etc. She forgave me. I don't know why. I pulled a really shitty move and I know I did it when she was at a low point. I'm so extremely grateful that she decided to give me another chance. We are still best friends to this day, but her confronting me when I initially ghosted her was absolutely miserable and heartbreaking. I still feel like such a piece of shit for it. That's literally what my best friend did to me, except she hasn't come back. We'd known each other since we were in diapers. High school we went to different schools and didn't see each other much. I was being abused and home life was horrible and she knew. We saw each other sporadically. We hung out the entire summer before she went off to college. Then we hung out once over summer and once over Christmas. And then she stopped answering my texts. I miss her. I miss her a duck ton actually. This has been one of the hardest years of my life. I swear they just keep getting worse and I could really use a friend. I could really use my best friend. The girl I used to put on skits with. My twin from another set of parents. My art war whatever the heck it was. She reached out to me for my birthday this year to wish me well and hope I was safe. But when I texted back she never answered. I called her out on it about a year ago. I asked her if I did something because we weren't close anymore and that I missed my best friend. She told me we were still sisters and that she was just busy with college. I guess the fake friends she has, she's admitted this, are more important than the friend who grieved her dad's death with her. Eat a holy shit. Thanks for the awards guys. Okay, please don't take this the wrong way. I'm not saying you are a bad friend or that you are in the wrong. Clearly your life has had some pretty horrible moments and I don't know what you have been going through. But maybe she has emotional fatigue. She was your best friend while you have been abused, which I'm guessing involved a lot of support and listening and helping you deal with a lot of horrible crap. That is what best friends do because they love you. But sometimes people can get burnt out. They are human too. And being someone's emotional support can be overwhelming when you can't change their situation. I'm also guessing that while her college friends are fake, they also don't require her to give the same level of commitment, passion and love. While this means she doesn't get that back from them, it also means she isn't required to give so much of herself and can just have shallow fun. You are also both young and haven't built the necessary mental tools needed to recognize when you are getting overwhelmed and burnt out and how to deal with that in a healthy way. Talking about it with the person involved instead of just pretending everything is fine while distancing yourself from them to recharge. She probably doesn't even realize that this is what she is doing. She is just instinctively giving herself time out and most likely also feeling a lot of guilt and misery at abandoning you when she knows you need her, which is making her avoid talking with you even more because nobody likes feeling guilty or being reminded they are letting someone they love down. This is not your fault. Please understand that you need support to deal with abuse and whatever else is going on in your life. That is completely understandable. But looking for that support from one person is going to put you in this scenario again and again. Build yourself a network of people you can trust rather than just one person. That way if someone drops out like your friend has, you aren't left isolated and without support. I really hope that this makes sense and helps. and that it is taken in the way I'm meaning it. Text is so easily misinterpreted. And I also really hope that you and your bestie work things out and become close again. Because it sounds like you had something really special. An old ex from college got in touch with me via FB, which was lovely and a tiny bit concerning. Had a great time catching up. Getting in touch with old friends from college via this exchange, seriously. This was the best part of that, etc. His life turned out pretty much as I expected. Numerous divorces, presumably some infidelity on his part, etc. Several months into our very polite chats, he suddenly shifts gears hard. He's spouting birther nonsense, trying to get me to leave my husband for him. Literally haven't seen this ex in 20+ years, and no way in heck is that going to happen. I blocked him on social media and didn't think twice about it afterwards. About 6 months later, our mutual college friend started haranguing me about why I'd ghosted the ex while he was deployed in Afghanistan. How dare I ghost a veteran who needed our support, etc. And how hurt my ex was that I'd cut off our friendship. Oh boy, here's the thing. I kept a screenshot of his crap to show my husband, and each time one of my college friends started in with that nonsense, I sent them the screen cap. One of the guys was so pissed. He told my ex that if he didn't stop backstabbing, they'd send it to his current wife. Haven't heard anything since, going on 8 years now. I don't expect to. I gotta be honest. Your friends suck for giving you shit about your actions here. I don't have many friends, but the ones I do would have said, hey man, why did you ghost sweet Lizza? I'd say because she was being inappropriate. And they'd say, oh shit, that's ducked up. Good for you. Absolutely no need for screenshots. My biological brother was ghosted by the woman his father was dating, who fathered 3 kids with her. I was adopted, and so didn't meet my brother until our 30s. When I heard this, apparently our dad was awful, so it's good I was adopted out, but my brother lived through the worst of it. My brother was 14, living with his dad, the girlfriend and the 3 young boys they had together. When his dad was killed in a drunk driving accident, he was the drunk. My brother came home from school one day shortly after, and she had packed up the whole house and just left without telling him, he guesses, because he wasn't her responsibility. At 14 he came back to an empty house. He had to call his grandparents 3 hours away to come get him. Horrible. He built a good life for himself since, but can you even imagine what that must be like? This happened recently. I had a friend I had known for 25+ years. We wound up at the same company and realized we lived very close. She was all into office gossip and talked trash about people I liked. I asked her to stop. Any obstacle I was facing was dismissed because she had been through worse. When I needed to talk to someone about personal struggles I was having, she would talk over me and change the subject to her issues. This went on for a few years. I would hang up after talking to her and question why I bothered. Finally, I had enough. I ghosted her, and after few months, she reached out to me via text. I replied and told her why. I was not cruel, just honest. Now I'm mean and hurtful. I blocked her, and am not regretting this at all. I think about her and hope all is well. I just needed to sever the ties. I had the same friend, but when I ghosted, they just accepted it and ghosted back. A mutual friend later told me that she said we got into a big fight and that's why we weren't friends anymore. I was not around for this fight that supposedly happened. I'm just glad to have moved on and learned not to befriend people with that kind of personality. The real ghosters are ghosting this thread. Maybe the real ghosters were the friends we made along the way. I've ghosted, but usually don't get called out. I used to be honest, but having more than one dude call me names for not thinking they were a good match killed that habit. Worst was a dude I'd gone on a couple dates with. He was nice enough, just a little too odd and clingy. Insisted on picking me up, I refused and met him instead. Insisted on driving me to the theater between dinner and the movie. I refused again. Then acted weird in the theater, yelling at people if they so much as coughed. After the movie, he was bold enough to go for a kiss. I did the cheek turn thing, then left in the 20 minutes it took me to get home. There were over a dozen texts, each one more frantic than the last. Because I hadn't replied yet, I immediately noped out. and ghosted. For weeks I got messages before he told me he thought I was better than this. But then I'd get the odd text, like he was testing the water. The weirdest was Shamrock Shake. Want one? Lexi. I'm very glad he didn't have my home address. I'm currently ghosting 2 friends. They are a married couple that wanted to bring me into the relationship. It didn't end well, and after 2 months of not speaking to each other, they reached out again. I was willing to re-establish only friendship, but they still were pushing for me to be romantic with a wife. I was pretty uncomfortable and felt anxious about it, especially after the fallout, and decided for everyone's safety and well-being, I needed to block them. They sorely lacked adequate communication for a 3-way relationship and were pretty manipulative with me and used my naivety and trust in them to get what they wanted. Sometimes, ghosting is the answer. Not always. If there's a chance to discuss it rationally, then do it. But if you don't have that chance, ghost. Edit to add I consider this ghosting because I cut contact without an explanation on seemingly good in their POV terms. I've always thought that is what ghosting was. The only time I expressed I wanted their friendship was when we initially reconnected after the fight. After that, they began pursuing me again, and I decided to completely block them without talking to them about it further. Edit to thank you to everyone that replied. I'm really shocked that there have been so many people with similar experiences and glad to know it wasn't just a me thing. I figured it was just me getting wrapped up in something wild, and it snowballed out of control. I don't have the energy to reply anymore, but I do want to thank everyone for their valuable input and whatnot. Have a great week. 90% of people who ghost have an entirely different version of events. I was accused of ghosting someone who had stopped talking to me months earlier. I think I was supposed to chase them and fix things. My ex constantly wanted me to fight for her. After a while I was just like, why? 2 years ago I met a woman online. After dating her for 2 weeks, my father passed away. I told her up front that I'm not in a good place emotionally, wasn't comfortable sharing my grieving process with someone I had just met, and that I couldn't promise I would still be open to dating anyone in the near future. She called me out for ghosting her a month later. When things aren't going well in my life, I turn inward and isolate myself. I'm not good at receiving support, and therefore I avoid people when I'm not doing well. It makes me ghost the people I care about and then suddenly contact them again, and the cycle continues. I've been called out on it, and I'm honest. I'm sure it's hurtful, and it makes me feel awful, but I don't know how to be anything but the happy supportive friend that you'll get close to, and I'll disappear when I can't be that. I was recently ghosted by a guy I'd been seeing. He actually reached out and apologized after a while, so that was nice of him. But it doesn't take away how much it hurt. My way of thinking is if someone ghosts you, let the dead rest. No point in chasing after someone who doesn't want to be chased. I was low-key dating hanging out with this guy that started ghosting me. After a while I texted and just asked him to honestly tell me what was up. He explained in great detail that he met someone else and had fallen hard for her. He apologized sincerely for being a dick by ghosting, and I actually really appreciated some brutal honesty for once. I've dated so many assholes that would lie about everything or gaslight me that I always prefer the harshest truth now. Not sure. I'm ghosting my emotions right now, ask again later. Okay, I wouldn't call it ghosting, but I sometimes don't like talking to my mom. We have a very strained relationship and sometimes it's better for my own mental health to just not engage. Anyway, one time I was legitimately at the gym with my trainer and didn't answer. She left a voicemail that said, "You always have your phone on and answer when BF calls or texts. Why do you hate me so much? I'm a 32-year-old mother of 3, raising my kids and my boyfriend's son. I'm busy. I'm tired. I just want to be left alone. You bought a phone for your convenience, not for other people's, so you can choose when you want to use it." Yes, I actually had to unlearn the way I thought, as I used to think like her, like people owed me to answer right away. Luckily, I figured it out pretty early. I'm a ghoster. I feel terrible about it. I mean to write, and mean to write. Then time has passed, so I have to write something really good. Then more time passes, but it is around my birthday or a holiday, so looks weird if I reach out then. So I communicate daily with you in my head. Many apologies and conversations. My anxiety just gets overwhelming. If you contact me, I will usually respond to the branch gladly. I only ghosted him after he asked me out, and I declined, and he became hostile. Then he started throwing more tantrums and eventually went to my friends and asked them to stop being friends with me, so yes, I was wrong for not blocking him immediately. The question: people who are ghosting people. The replies: let me tell you about this time I got ghosted. I've been ghosting this girl I liked, and she hasn't noticed, because I'm the one who always starts the conversation. I now know that I'm not technically ghosting her. Please stop commenting that. This happened to me. I was close friends with someone at work for 17 years. Then the school we worked in closed, and we were moved to different schools. For the first 4 months, I made all the effort in staying connected. After Christmas break, I just stopped. It took her 6 weeks to reach out to me. That was a really hard time. It made me feel like shit, to be honest. That's not who I am. But at the time I was going through a rough patch in a relationship and my home life wasn't great either. Being alone felt like the only option at one point until a good friend I ghosted expressed his concerns. I started ignoring a friend's texts after she'd made me feel really uncomfortable about some derogatory comments made regarding mental health. I've always struggled. Anyway, after a couple months she bluntly called me out and asked what had happened because she could feel a difference. I took that as an opportunity to explain to her how my feelings had been hurt, and I wasn't at a place to confront her about it because it was still pretty raw for me. She was surprisingly receptive and apologized for her insensitivity. We never really moved past it, but I really appreciated her directness and desire to understand, and I know she appreciated my honesty.